business from investors. For those of you who would love to have one client who sends you lots of business throughout the year, rather than one client who sends you business once every 10 years, then this episode is going to be for you. We're going to be talking to a gentleman who's built out a model for helping people to flip houses. He's learned a lot in that process. And in the process, he's going to share a lot with us. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great episode. So the big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry who have crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we create success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard. This is my co-host Stephanie Peck. And together we bring you the Think Bigger Real Estate Podcast. All right, Stephanie, tell me, how are you today? And tell me what you're most excited about today's episode before we introduce today's guest.
Hey, thank you. I'm doing great today and most excited about just learning another avenue for real estate agents to be successful, either by serving clients and investors or looking for opportunities that they may not have their eyes open to already.
Love it. Super good. So with that, let's introduce Matt Lavinder. Matt is the founder of New Again Houses, former coach, former business professional, realized flipping houses was a good gig, then realized he could systematize it, right? Many house flippers, maybe as you know, Stephanie, as you see people out there kind of trying to do it themselves without a great system, without the deep experience that you have, and making some painful mistakes. Well, Matt's coming in. He's actually solved that for a lot of people, helping them to actually own a franchise of house flipping. So Matt, super excited to have you here today. I know we can learn a lot from you. So let's dive in. Tell us your story, how you got involved in building out what you've built.
Yeah, let's do it. Man, I came to real estate a little bit of this scenic route. I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I went into coaching and teaching at the university level, and real estate was always in my blood. I was always fascinated by it, and we did it on the side. And my wife and then I realized that job, I was building something for someone else. Like my W-2 was I was doing a lot of work, but it wasn't mine. Like they told me it was mine, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't mine. And so I wanted to build something of my own. And so at that time, flipping houses was almost exclusively a mom and pop business. It was before the hedge funds had come in and the institutional investors. And so what I really wanted to do is build a real business around this product of flipping houses. So some people are emotional about the houses, and that's where they get their meaning. It's never been for me. Like for me, I wanted to build a business around a business that flips houses. So a legitimate business around scaling this particular industry. So
I love it.
That's where this started.
I love it. Stephanie, what is that? I know you're in the house flipping business yourself, right? Outside of just selling a lot of real estate, you do this frequently. Tell us kind of how does that resonate with you hearing Matt's story?
It definitely resonates because I am in the ma and pa camp. I wouldn't say I necessarily have a real estate investing business as much as a lucrative hobby of real estate investing. And that has put limitations on me as far as how many I can do, what systems I can create to make it more successful and to look for new opportunities. So definitely excited to learn from that side of it. And then as a real estate agent, I see that when I'm doing it, I'm sort of leading by example, and other clients start resurfacing or coming out of the woodworks and saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I'm interested in doing that as well. How can you help me through that? And so I feel like I'm always trying to recreate my systems that will work for them, where I just go into autopilot. So excited to learn about the systems that you've created to make this easier for anyone to do.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing, before we kind of delve into that, I just want to say that I think that's one of the beautiful things about why and how you've been so successful, Stephanie, is that people want not just a real estate agent who maybe stays in contact with them, but one who is leading them, right? I think anybody who has a nice home recognizes that beyond that, they'd love to have wealth through real estate. Obviously, one of the greatest, if not the greatest tool to build wealth in our country. And so having a real estate agent like you, and I would encourage everybody that's listening out there right now that is a real estate agent, that if you're not yet investing in real estate, you're probably missing out on probably one of the biggest fringe benefits of being in real estate. And as you actually start to do that, you're going to start to attract clients around you who want to do what you do. So with that, Matt, speak to us a little bit about maybe some of the systems that you've created. I know you've created kind of this system around what metrics you should be paying attention to. Anything that you want to share that would help our audience really be educated when it comes to both being a house flipper as well as serving house flippers would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think the path to success in today's world is there's a lot of similarities between being an investor or a flipper and also an agent. Like if you go back to 2007, you could be a part-time agent, you could be a part-time investor, you could be mom and pop, and you could compete in either world, right? And carve out a good living for yourself. In the last 20 years, though, both of these industries, everything pertaining to real estate has become much more competitive and much more professional. And so what agents were doing in 2007 and succeeding, they could not compete with that in today's world. And I think the same is true for flippers, because everything is just more competitive. Like every facet of it. And to be a professional in either one of these businesses, you have to be really good at a lot of different things. Like you have to compete at a high level in a number of different things. Like you have to be a professional. So, and those things that you have to be good at, there's probably a lot of similarities between what we do and what agents do. For us, like there's four big pieces that you have to have operating at a high level in order to scale the flipping of houses. And when we talk about scale, we're talking about a franchise location doing 12 a year. So success for us is for a location to do a flip every month. The reason that is an important number is because you can create competitive advantages with 12 a month. And you can also avoid having a lot of overhead. You can still keep it a very lean business, have a great quality of life, and do 12 a year. You start getting above that, you do start to need adding project managers or overhead. You do less than that, it's tough to create competitive advantages, right? So, but to do that kind of volume, then you have to have four things operating at a high level. You have to have off-market lead generation. It's really hard to find deals on MLS, right? And so you have to have off-market lead generation. And that's something that we as the franchisor, the franchise owners, they don't have the resources to create these competitive advantages. So we as a franchisor, it's our role to create those competitive advantages. Not unlike Keller Williams is trying to create competitive advantages for their owners that they can piggyback into. So for us, it's the off-market lead generation. Once you start getting leads, now you have to analyze those leads very quickly. So Stephanie, like you might get an influx of leads. You can spend a lot of time chasing leads, analyzing leads. Like these are big decisions. They're complicated in today's world, but you have a very small window of time to make these big decisions. So for us, we need to get a final offer out in 72 hours. Well, that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of things to analyze in a short amount of time, right? So that's where, and we're doing a lot of these at the same time. So we need software. We had to build software that was both fast and accurate. So we've got off-market lead generation systems, and then there's the software to analyze. We've got support systems around that to analyze those properties so you're not on your own. The third big competitive advantage that you have to have in this business is capital. And if you go back a few years, like the capital was flowing pretty freely in real estate investment. Like it was not as difficult to get capital because it was just an easier market. In today's world, like capital can be a real limitation. And so capital can't be a constraint for us. And so you've got 7 houses in inventory of franchise center, like they have to have access to capital. And so we've built our own fund of over 33 million. The only thing that it does is invests in our New Again Houses projects around the country. And so having that internal source of capital allows us to move a lot faster and with a lot more confidence. So when we get to the end of that 72 hours and make that offer to the seller, we know that we have the capital behind us to do so. So off-market lead generation, the analysis, the capital, and the fourth piece is the construction itself. Like these are $80,000, $90,000 rehab projects. And as you know, like every one of them is difficult. And so we have to create a construction ecosystem where we can actually execute the construction on the ground, because at some point somebody has to add the actual value to the house. And that's very, very difficult to scale.
Stephanie, how does this, when you hear those 4 categories, how have you, running obviously a smaller operation than probably one a month, right? In fact, what is your volume of flip projects, and do those 4, which of those 4 do you feel like really resonates with you as being one that maybe most who try and do what you do maybe miss?
Hearing all of this, actually, I have been listening to this from the perspective of a real estate agent, because when people come to me, they're looking for solutions to every one of those problems. Mm-hmm. And as a real estate agent, trying to solve every one of those problems for a client is very cumbersome, almost impossible, right? Because our first job, help them find the deal. Well, you're scouring the MLS, you're scouring off market. There's so much work that goes into qualifying every property, mm-hmm. and they want a market analysis on it as it is. And then they want a market analysis of after renovation, and doing a lot of that legwork, it takes so much time. So coupling that with technology is huge. Like, let's let technology qualify the property for us. And then we're going to couple that with my local expertise.
Yes.
And that will help you make a decision, because there are always going to be things about the neighborhood that only a local expert could know, that intelligence, software, artificial intelligence couldn't know. So when I'm hearing that, like that solves my first biggest problem, is how do I help people qualify properties? And then they're coming to me and they're saying, well, now how do I fund this? Am I advising someone to cash out their entire retirement plan, or, go borrow money from a rich uncle? Well, now you've solved the problem. How do they get the money to fund it? And, they're often like, well, I don't know any private investors. I don't know any hard money lenders. How do I find this money? So now that problem is solved for them. And then the problem of, now I'm a general contractor, right?
Right.
Now they're asking me, as the real estate agent, they're asking me for the next 90 to 180 days. Hey, do you know a good roofer? Hey, do you know a good flooring guy? Hey, do you know a good sheetrocker? Hey, do you know a good insulation person? And I am happy to be that person, but now I've become their general contractor, right? Exactly. So hearing those 4 pillars, you're solving all the problems that I'm trying to solve as one person for someone that wants to get into the real estate investing game.
Yeah, you think about that investor-agent relationship, and like, there's so much technology in real estate now. And I just got back from a prop tech conference in Las Vegas, and the whole thing is about technology in real estate. And the technology is important. It's important to our business, but I think it's also really important to be aware that the technology cannot replace the agent. Like, no matter how good it gets, it cannot replace that human local expertise on the ground. And so if you have no technology, to your point, the investor takes advantage of the agent, right? Because now the agent is having to do all of the work on all of these prospects. And it's a low percentage gain, right? You analyze 10 projects and you might buy one. Well, that's not good math for the agent. And so,
And that would be a generous number. Yeah.
yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
But so without technology, I think investors often take advantage of the agent, right? But technology is not sufficient without the agent. Like technology is going to lead a lot of investors astray because they don't have a high quality agent. It requires both. And so in our world, we see the technology as empowering the franchise owner and also empowering the agent, but allowing that relationship to be a win-win for both. So if the technology can get 3/4 of the way through the valuation, and then the agent comes in for the last 20% on these deals that make it through those stages and really provides a deep level of expertise at the bottom of the funnel rather than the top, now that's a win-win for both. And then if we can generate 12 commissions for the agent over the course of the year rather than one, now it's a relationship, right? And so I think agents are very used to transactional relationships because the product is a transaction, right? And you might get repeat customers, but your typical seller is going to sell every 7 years. Well, that's great, but it's a transactional relationship. Whereas a transactional relationship doesn't really work with an investor. Like the agent doesn't benefit from a transact because you do so much more work, to your point. And so when you have volume, now it can become a relationship that is also a win for the agent. But it's a different mindset. But volume is really important.
Matt, do you see franchise owners who are real estate agents who use it both for their own business as well as advising clients who also want to be investors? Is that a proper
Yeah,
application, or how does that work? Or does each person need to have their own kind of franchise, if you will?
the model is to have your own agent. We do have
Okay.
some that have their own license. They were agents. They were agents already, and they wanted to add flipping into it, and so they've
Yeah.
added it. Some of them have gotten a license. A spouse has gotten a license. Our preference is to have a full-time agent on the team. When you think about flipping 12 houses a year, like your team, like it's a lot of revenue, it's a lot of decisions, but your team is very lean. Like you have a contractor and you have an agent. Like that's a pretty small team, but both of those are so important. Like it's a small team, but everybody on the team is so important. And so the agent for us is a really critical part of this. Um, but it needs to be a quality agent, right? Like a mediocre agent actually creates risk for us. We need a high quality agent. And what does a high quality agent look like? Well, they're doing real estate full time, right? They're showing houses. They've got their finger on the pulse of the market. They know the nuances between school districts and ends of the street. Like these are full-time professionals. It's just not a business where part-time amateurs really need to be operating.
So it would be appropriate then for someone like Stephanie to say to her investor clients, here's an option for you to really level up your investor game. If you want to do this full time, this could be a good option for you to be a franchise owner, which would, of course, help her help them. Is that maybe an accurate example?
Yeah, it would allow them to scale in a way that would be very difficult to do on your own. I mean, building software like you can piece together different kinds of software, but it has to be fast and it has to be accurate.
Yeah.
And so it's just that's an example. Like the capital, when you've got 7 houses in inventory in a Nashville or a Boston, like that's a lot of capital. And all of these pieces are difficult, and it's too much to ask an agent to create all these competitive advantages. It's just not. It's almost predatory to ask them to do that. Yeah.
what additional ahas or questions do you have, Stephanie, before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I want to elaborate a little bit on, I think maybe what you were asking is, could somebody become a franchise partner with you and then also source deals with other partners, or is that person, so for example,
right.
like if I wanted to become a franchise partner with you, could I take 3 or 4 homes myself to personally flip, and then also bring in some of my other agent partners or some of my investor clients to handle the rest to get us to that 12?
Right. No, so we have protected territories. A lot of franchises don't have protected territories, so they're kind of competing with one another over leads. It's really important for us to have protected territories. And so we don't want to create competition between our franchise owners. So territory is typically 400,000 people. So that is your territory. We're investing in that territory. You own that territory. And so it's an all or nothing kind of franchise relationship.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
yeah, I like that.
Well, this has been really insightful, Matt. I want to thank you, number one, for kind of being a trailblazer, if you will, taking what is a very lucrative and worthy profession that's oftentimes very much a mystery to most people, right? And if they do it once, they don't get good enough to do it again, right? Unless they stick with it, and many don't, right? So to have somebody who can come in and say, we've actually built the system to help you make this successful on attempt one and allow you to make a full-time career out of this, that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people aspire to do that are in a career that they don't love, right? And this will give them the freedom and the upside that few things could probably give them. So I commend you for building it. How do people find out more about what you have to offer?
Yeah, so everything is online. It's newagainhouses.com. We are starting typically 1 to 2 locations every month. So we're on a pretty fast growth trajectory.
I love it. Well, that's awesome to hear. Congratulations on all the growth. And we're excited to hear about what you continue to do. And I'm sure that there will be people in our world who will be franchise owners, and we're excited to hear about their progress. So
Yeah.
appreciate it very much. And to our amazing audience, we encourage you to take action today on this, right? There's some things that you've learned. If you're a real estate agent, you may have interest in a territory, right? And we encourage you to go find Matt Lavinder at his website to learn more about that. And if you're just involved in flipping and you feel like you've got systems in place, I think there's some things to go back and listen to help you to really be effective at those 4 areas that Matt deems are critical for being a successful home flipper. So again, we appreciate that and encourage everybody here to take action and be a big thinker, not just a big thinker, but a big doer. So appreciate that. And we look forward to hearing you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right.
Appreciate you both.
Thanks.
Take care.